General Toolan, it's Colonel Dave LePan here at the Pentagon. If you are ready to go, we will kick things off.
I'm ready, Dave.
Okay. Good morning. I'd like to welcome to the Pentagon Briefing Room for the first time U.S. Marine Corps Major General John Toolan, Jr., the Commanding General of Regional Command Southwest. On March 26th of this year, General Toolan assumed responsibility for RC Southwest. The General commands a multinational coalition of 30,000 service members drawn from the United States, the United Kingdom, Estonia, Denmark, Georgia, Bahrain, and Tonga. In partnership with the Afghan National Army's 215th Corps, his troops operate in the provinces of Helmand and Nimroz. As I mentioned at the top, this is the General's first briefing with us in this format. He joins us today from his headquarters at Camp Leatherneck. As most of our speakers, he will make some opening remarks and then take your questions. With that, General, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, it's nice to talk to everybody, and I look forward to reading all the articles after this is over. As was mentioned earlier, we took over in March, and one of our objectives in taking over the RC Southwest area was to make sure that it was seamless. It's very important that there's a plan in place that regardless of who's here, things just seem to follow a good sequence. So the takeover was smooth, and we've really basically benefited from those that have gone before us and walked right in on their plan and have carried it forward. We're currently, as you know, we've completed the harvest season. Both poppy and wheat have been completed, and we're now in the phase of getting into what's considered the fighting season. Our plan during this next 6 months, particularly taking us through the fall, is that we're going to go deepen the hold that we currently have in the Central Helmand River Valley. There's been tremendous success down there, in fact, to the point where one of the capital of Helmand Province, Lashkargah, has been designated to be in the first tranche of cities that transfers local security responsibility back to the Afghans. But we need to hold that security picture in Central Helmand River Valley, so that's going to be key to what we try to accomplish this summer, fall, or this fighting season. I think that in regards to the efforts over the past 2 years in the south, everywhere from Regi Khandashin, which is in the south, Gomshir, Nawa, Marja, there's been tremendous success to the point where many of those districts will be identified for transition of lead security responsibility in either the next tranche or the following tranche. So that has given us an opportunity to then reinvest in certain areas where we're probably not as prevalent, not as dense, and we need to thicken our hold in some places, which are mostly in the north. Task Force Helmand, which is my British task force, is currently holding the central core of the Helmand River Valley in and around Nadali, Nari Saranj. And Task Force Leatherneck, which is the basis of the U.S. forces, is now arrayed both in the south, where we have great security, as I just mentioned, and also in the northern areas, what we call Upper Gereshk, Upper Sangin Valley, and Kajiki, with additional districts, Musakala and Nowzad. We've been very successful in doing a couple of things. One most important effort has been our effort to reduce the amount of financing that's available for the insurgents to fuel the fighting season for them. We've been able to do that by attacking the narcotics nexus, that combination of Taliban insurgent and narcotics producer. Since April, since we've been here, we've taken about 30,000 tons of opium off the streets, an equivalent of about $65–70 million. I'm not exactly sure how much that's pinched their pocketbooks, but we could tell just by intelligence gathering that it's had a significant impact, particularly in the south, but not so much in the north, primarily because that is sort of the narcotics haven. During the summer and early fall, we intend to consolidate our efforts in the north, Upper Sangin, Upper Garesh Valleys, and Kajiki. Some of you know that there's a major dam up there that's key to irrigation efforts, as well as power supply through the southern region. So our attempt is to get up there sometime in the next 6 months, 7 months, in order to begin some projects that we have set aside for the Kajiki Dam. The transition in Lashkar, as I mentioned earlier, is going very well. It's going to obviously be a target for the insurgents. They're going to try and conduct spectacular attacks. They're going to go after the local security, the Afghan local security, and the insurgents are going to attempt to reduce the confidence the public has in the government. I think we have a pretty good plan in place so that we'll be able to respond in overwatch positions if necessary, but we won't let the transition of Lashkar fail. The last point I'll mention is, before I turn it over to questions, is this whole issue of Afghan National Security Force development. Our objective has been to paint the picture of what the Afghan National Security Forces will look like in the year 2014 when the U.S. military and the coalition forces plan to withdraw from Afghanistan. What we're trying to do is establish the infrastructure builds for the Army so that they're in overwatch positions, while the police, the Afghan uniformed police, are really the core, the center of gravity for security in Afghanistan. And both they have to be able to protect the population as well as make sure that they secure justice in the districts they're responsible for. It is a challenge. There are some things, some perceptions that need to be overcome with the police, but we see steady progress as we go through this particular year. In fact, there's been a couple of attempts in Lashkar with suicide bombs, and in each case, the Afghan uniformed police have been able to respond effectively. So we think we're on a timeline that will be able to turn over Afghan uniformed police that's protecting the population and securing justice for the locals. The Afghan National Army is moving along incredibly well. Probably by the end of this year, we'll have the total number of Afghan National Army and police at about 352,000, I believe. The majority of them, particularly those units who have completed their training and been equipped over the past 6 months, are operating at pretty good capacity. They're well trained. They generally have a second grade reading level, and they've got some good leadership development going. What we'll probably have to do in the next year or so is move our combat forces into a greater advisor and mentor role, and that will continue on probably until the end of 2014 in order to make sure the Afghan National Army is set up to provide security. I think those are the issues that I would like to just highlight, try to give you a summary of what's going on here, and then I'm willing to take any questions.